Why the hell is our car insurance so high in Vegas? Is it all the tourists? Or are we really that bad at driving? Well, today we're going to find out. We revisit a conversation Dayvid Figler had with injury attorney Justin Randall to explain why insurance companies are forcing us to shell out the big bucks. It's Tuesday, June 8th. I'm Jesse Merrick, and here's what Las Vegas is talking about.
First off, Justin, are Vegas car insurance rates actually high compared to other cities?
David, they really are. We have some of the highest car insurance rates in the country, and it's for a variety of reasons. We live in a town that's very transient, and we have people coming from all different parts of the country, parts of the cities, from suburbs, from rural areas, all into this melting pot where we all live. And everyone drives a little bit differently. And because of that, we have a lot of chaos on our roads.
So it's the Californians. End of story, and we can end the podcast early.
It's everyone in Los Angeles County. It's all of their faults, and they all moved here and ruined our driving. End of podcast. We have nothing else to talk about today.
Mic drop. We're done. Thank you, everybody. Now listen to me just, singing Home Means Nevada. Let me ask you, though, seriously, how much higher on average are we than those other cities?
I can tell you from personal experience, when I moved to Las Vegas and I went to law school in Iowa, so I lived in the state of Iowa for 3 years before I moved here, my car insurance more than tripled.
Wow.
And I was blown away. I was a poor young first year attorney, and my car insurance was so expensive that I thought it was a mistake and actually called my insurance company. Not one thing changed other than the zip code where I was living, and the car insurance more than tripled.
Wow. And this is something that we hear from so many of our friends and neighbors. It's just like, my insurance bill is killing me, and I came from XYZ, and they have similar stories. So what do you think is the major factor for our high car insurance rates?
Without a doubt, it's the driving behavior in this town. We have cultural differences. So if you look at our driving, for example, I moved here from Iowa. I grew up in Chicago. It is a very different style of driving in those cities than you have here. If you look at the roads we have significant amounts of people just flying down the freeway, speeding, running red lights. We have a significant amount of DUI, alcohol, drugs on our roads. We have a party atmosphere that contributes to it, and we're a 24-hour town. And when you throw all of this together, it just explodes. And that's why we have so many problems on our roads here in this state.
Well, I hear you putting a lot of that on the different driving styles, but I can't help but throw into the mix that our road design is not, let's just say, thoughtful. We build these giant stroads, I think they're called, because they're essentially highways. It almost dares people to drive bad and fast, encourages racing, to get through that red light.
Well, and if you look at our bills here, we have insane costs for just about everything right now. If you look at the property damage, so let's say you're in a car accident and your car is damaged. 20, 30 years ago, that might be a bumper, that might be a tail light, it might be an engine. These are the things they're repairing. Now, you've got sensors on your bumper, you've got cameras on your car, you've got computer chips in every aspect of your car. And all of these things cost more money, require longer time to repair, and just make it harder to complete things in a cheap and easy manner.
You'd think with all this amazing technology that we have right now in cars that it wouldn't be a negative that it costs more for property repair, but that they're safer vehicles. So why isn't there like a trade-off here that the new tech drives down the prices because they're making cars safer, but maybe the cost of fixing and replacing goes up?
I think it's a mix of the cars you've got on the road. So, I drive a Tesla. It has every safety feature under the sun. But I get hit by someone who's driving a 1985 Toyota Camry, and that has none of these features. So that doesn't stop them from hitting the back of my car and costing my insurance $20,000 for a small repair.
So how do medical bills in our valley tie into car insurance rates?
Well, the medical bills are one of the biggest problems we're facing now in our car insurance rates. When I started practicing law in about 15 years ago, your emergency room visit would be maybe $3,500 to $5,000 on average at a Las Vegas Valley ER. Now you're looking at 5 to 7 to 10 and higher. If you're in a traumatic accident or one that the paramedics designate as a trauma panel, they call it activating a trauma panel,
Hmm.
that can cause the value of that medical bill to go up to 25, 30, 40, $50,000 just from your date of the incident treatment. And that's no other care that you're getting after. Our other medical bills after the ER are just as expensive. Our MRI costs are high. Our pain management costs are high. Everything you do in this valley in terms of medical bills is high and getting higher. It gets higher every year that I practice law because the cost of everything is going up due to inflation.
So I see where you're going with this is that because the medical bills keep rising and rising and rising, when you go to the insurance companies for payouts, their payouts rise, rise, rise. And so they pass those on to our consumers.
Exactly.
I wonder if somehow the medical bills, if the emergency room visits, if the aftercare were to somehow come down, would we see insurance rates automatically drop too? Are they that locked into each other?
I don't think they would drop, to be honest with you. And the reason is there's not an insurance company, or at least an auto insurance company, making money in the state of Nevada. They're not profitable here
Huh.
because of all of these claims. And we have higher claims than other places. I will tell you, when I was going to law school in Iowa, that's not a state where culturally people sue each other. They just don't. And then you come here, and the first thing that happens when someone's in a car accident is they're on the phone with their attorney,
Yeah.
sometimes while they're at the scene of the crash.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
I
just
mean,
culturally different.
and it's really easy to find the number of an attorney because all we see as we drive around are billboards on our radios in the car, are ads. I mean, you said there's a culture of litigation. Look, that advertising is not cheap. I know that. It's really expensive. So, how do the lawyers play into all this? And is all that mad money that lawyers seem to be making, that you and your people are making, Justin Randall, are they part of driving the car rates here off the cliff?
Well, I will tell you, lawyers have done nothing wrong ever in their life. As both of us are lawyers, we know we are always perfect in every way, shape, and form.
And that's
So,
the
of
end of the
course not.
podcast. Thank you again.
Blame the insurance companies, not the lawyers.
Uh-huh. But let's be real.
And I don't think it's as simple as the lawyers are driving up the costs. I think we have all of these problems on our roads and people need help. People don't have the ability to get medical care. They don't have the ability to fix their car. Most Americans are $400 away from practical bankruptcy. And a car accident is one of those things that can legitimately set people off a cliff financially. A lot of people have a negative feeling toward lawyers, but lawyers are helping people get their life back on track after a catastrophic event. So it's not a bad thing that people talk to a lawyer and get the protection they need. And I don't think we as a society educate people as to what to do after a car accident. We just don't. So if it's your first car accident, you've never had this happen before, you need the guidance of a lawyer. Now, I will tell you, I worked at one of those big billboard firms for 9 years, and I was blown away when I would have little kids quoting our phone number to us, singing the jingle from the commercial.
Yeah.
It was crazy to me. It was hilarious. And it's so common in this town.
All right. Well, let's let the lawyers off the hook for a second and go back for a second to the drivers. I mean, what do you think about this? Because I'm sure you hear this all the time. You probably see it yourself. There are a lot of cars. I mean, a lot of cars in Las Vegas without license plates or with registration that, if you look closely, expired in 2022. Is that part of the problem? What's your take on that?
My instinct was always that this was part of the problem. And I think it is to some extent, but I was blown away when I actually looked into it practicing law. We're kind of middle of the pack for uninsured people. We're
Really?
right around in the 25 to 30, depending on the year, of states where we're uninsured. And it's about 11% of drivers on the road that are uninsured.
Yeah, because I just assume if you don't have your registration up to date, you're probably not insured. If you don't have a legitimate license plate, you're probably not insured. So,
And you're dead on that. They are
mm,
absolutely not insured. And you know what's crazy? I drive the 95 every day. I will tell you, the people driving like maniacs on the road on the 95 are typically the ones that don't have a license plate on their car. So
huh.
they're causing a lot of the problems. And there is a significant portion of our valley that is uninsured But the part that we don't talk about is the portion of our valley that's underinsured.
Mm.
We have, in my experience at least, I would say 75% of people have what I would call liability only coverage, the minimum state limits to get them on the road,
Required by
and
law, right? I mean, you have
required
to
by law.
carry at least a minimum, and how much you think, like anecdotally, about only?
I would say it's about 75% of people have the minimum,
Wow.
which is $25,000. So what that means, we call it a 2550. So that means if you're in a car crash and you hit someone and you carry that minimum limits policy, you have a maximum per person of $25,000 that your insurance will pay out, and a maximum for a car crash, any one car crash, of $50,000.
Hmm.
That doesn't go very far in our valley. When your ER bill may be $10 to $15,000 or higher, this gets cut out really quickly, and people aren't getting the care they need
Yeah.
because of the limits we have in our valley.
With regard to all these uninsured drivers who are out there, isn't it a conundrum? Because if they, can't afford insurance, let's say a majority of them are good at heart people who aren't trying to screw the system, but really legitimately can't afford it, but they do need to drive to get the necessities of life. I mean, how do we fix that? We can't find those people out of existence. They're going to be around. So what's the solve when it comes to all these drivers who don't have insurance or proper insurance on our highways?
Well, we've done some things to help. A few years ago, probably it might even be close to 10 years ago now, we did the driver authorization cards that allowed undocumented immigrants to get an equivalent of a driver's license, essentially, that would allow them to then get insurance. So
Mm.
that reduced our uninsured motorists on the road. We've made changes like that. Now, have we done everything we can? No. But we do, as a state, regulate increases. The Division of Insurance essentially regulates what insurance companies can charge and how much they can raise their rates to do everything we can, at least on a government level, to keep it affordable. The problem is we have these insurance companies that just can't make it work here because of all of the factors we've talked about this morning.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that those rate increases have to run through a state industry. And I get it that companies need to be able to be profitable to actually operate. But, it always comes down to margins. And I'm wondering if, this progressive example that you use, progressive insurance company example that you use to get that higher rate increase, I mean, is there a way where the regulators can say, just no, our city can't afford this type of rate increase anymore? Our people are suffering. You just have to buckle down and, work on those thinner margins. Or is the threat of not offering insurance at all to our community something that our regulators are mindful of?
That's the threat, and that's the problem. So you have to look at California right now. We've had all the wildfires, and this isn't auto insurance, but it's the same concept.
Hmm.
They are pulling out of California. State Farm is pulling out of California. Some of these big name companies that you see advertising for are pulling out of these states because they can't make it work. And if you can't make it work, and we've had this happen here, over the years, you have what are called non-standard insurance companies. So your insurance companies that are catering to people who can't get your typical coverage. So your Progressive, your Allstate, your Geico, the
Hmm.
insurance companies you're going to know just by sitting on your computer or on your watching TV.
Yeah. Affleck. Sorry, I had an Affleck in
Aflac's
there.
not an auto insurance company, David.
Oh, I
Yeah,
had no
you got
idea.
to you got to get this straight. They do like health insurance, kind of.
But they got the
Fred
duck.
Loya.
Who's got
They
the
got they
emu?
got the Emu is Liberty Mutual, I believe. I
They're a car
think
insurance company.
they're a car insurance company.
Okay.
You got Geico's got the Gecko. State Farm is your neighbor Jake from State Farm. So
Yeah.
then Progressive has Flow. So they all have a person or animal that they use.
Which is already shady. I'm going to tell you that. You don't need a cartoon to sell something that, makes you more safe.
People do it though. How many
Yeah.
people do you think pick their insurance based off of those characters? I would venture
99.
to bet a lot of people.
Yeah. All right.
But these non-standard insurance companies, they cater to people who can't get those policies. And it could be for a variety of reasons. It could be you're a higher risk driver. You have a million tickets or, a million crashes.
Yeah.
You have a bunch of DUIs, whatever it is, they write for those people so that they still have insurance. Because quite frankly, they're typically the ones that are causing most of our accidents. They're the ones with the bad driving history.
Yeah.
So we don't want to be in a situation where we have people that are uninsured because it just makes the problem worse.
I mean, honestly, the way that you're framing this, Justin, I can't believe I'm saying this, but you're sort of making me more sympathetic to insurance companies that
Well, let's not go that far.
there's these systemic problems out there that it's not their fault. They're just trying to do their best. But I don't know, if insurance is fundamentally broken, Justin Randall, what is the alternative to car insurance? Is there a better system out there that we just haven't even thought about?
I think part of the system and part of the reason why we're facing such increased rates in this valley is you have a lot of insurance companies that don't want to pay out on claims to try and save money to make themselves profitable. And I will tell you 99% of the time that backfires on them. In the long run, they're paying more for fighting a claim they should have paid out years earlier. And
Hmm.
that's when you see those giant verdicts on the news or on TV, because typically it's because the insurance company did something bad and didn't fix it in a proper manner.
Hmm. So you're doing a really good job at debunking myths. That's why we had you on here. You're also, now tempering back this love that you were infusing in me for the insurance company. So
Don't
let's
love an insurance company ever,
got it.
ever. I'll break up with you if you do this. If you start
Fair.
loving Geico,
Right. I mean, I was hanging out with the duck. I didn't even know that he wasn't in this business. So let me ask you this, because this is another thing that's commonly discussed, I think, and I don't know if it's true or not, but you do hear about, oh, that particular zip code in Las Vegas is even worse for rates. I mean, is there something about zip code by zip code that we should be thinking about? And I have some follow-ups depending on what you say.
yes. So there are just zip codes where there's more crashes, where there's more car accidents. If you look at Metro releases every year the top 5 crash-prone intersections or where the most crashes occur,
Yeah.
virtually all of them were in either the same zip code or very close to each other. And that zip code is going to pay a premium because there's just simply more losses there. So they're paying out more in that area.
So if you happen to just, live or have your residence in that zip code, you're going to get dinged?
Probably, yeah.
I mean,
Because that is
physically,
one of the
probably
things
by another car, but also by the
you're going to
insurance
get
company rates.
rear-ended.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's more claims there. And that's one of the things they base their rates on is how much they're paying out in a particular area. I'm sure there are people that have moved from one part of the valley to another part of the valley where they've paid more for insurance just by nature of their zip code.
All right. Well, let's wrap up here, Justin. So, what should a person do if they're in an accident, to best protect themselves? And as good as I know you are, let's not make this an ad. No, did a driver fly off the handle? Call Justin Randall, please.
That's my new slogan. There's my new slogan right there.
All right. Well, you could have that one for free. But, what should a person who is involved in an accident, either the cause or, the consequence of an accident, do to best protect themselves financially?
You need to document everything. You need to take pictures of everything. Take pictures of where the cars are when they came to arrest. Take pictures of the damage to the vehicle. Take pictures of everyone's license plates, insurance information.
Hmm.
Anything you can document, you need to document as much as possible. Anyone that witnessed it, you absolutely need to get their name, phone number, contact information. I recommend in every crash, big or small, call the police. A police report gets all of those things and helps you out in the long run because it's the close in time event documentation of everything that happened on the scene. And I
And
know
Justin, on that
Metro,
point, I'm sorry to interrupt, but there was a time when the police weren't responding, but now they're back doing that again.
they are responding if there's an injury or it's a major crash is typically what they do. Now there will be times that they're busy, they're not going to want to come out, but I think you should always try because it always helps in the long run. The more information you can compile from the scene, the better off you are in the event that you need to make a claim later, even if it's just a claim to fix your car.
Any other tips? I mean, look, you're a lawyer, you're involved in litigation. One of the causes, is this culture of litigation that is Las Vegas. What else can we do collectively, I'd say, to try to keep our general rates down, make us more Iowa, less Southern California?
For the love of God, wait 10 seconds when a light turns green before entering the intersection. You would not believe how many crashes we have just based off of that. The other one, watch people to the sides of you. The amount of people making a right turn from the left lane or a left turn from the right lane is unbelievably high in this town. And just pay attention to what you're doing. Get off your phone. Don't play with your podcasts or your radio while you're driving. Just focus on the road and slow down.
All right, everyone who's listening to us right now in their car, take heed. Justin Randall, thank you so much for joining us today on CityCast Las Vegas.
David, it's always a pleasure.
That's all for today here on CityCast Las Vegas. If you enjoyed the show, why not tell a friend? Rate the show, leave us a review, and subscribe to our free morning newsletter as well. And don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Las Vegas neighbor at membership.citycast.fm/Las Vegas. We'll be back tomorrow morning with more news from around the city. Until then, though, take care.